An important part of 3D modeling is knowing our pivot or origin points. Now, if we have this cube here, we have our origin point is right in the center of this cube, and that's where it's going to pivot when we rotate or scale it. It pivots from that spot, so it's almost the same thing. The origin point is actually this with the arrows on it. So I can bring my 3D cursor out here if I just regular click, and this right here is my origin point, but it's also my pivot point, and I can change the pivot point where it pivots from. And what I mean by that is, if let me go to a front view 1 on the keypad and 5 ortho view. If I select R on the keyboard, it's rotating, and it's rotating from that pivot point right in the center. If I scale it, it's scaling from that pivot point. Okay, and the pivot point is right in the center, and we can get that from going to this tool right here. Click on that, and the pivot point is the median point of anything that is selected, any object. So I have the cube selected, it's at the median point, it's right in the middle. Now if I put my cursor, 3D cursor out here on the corner, and I could actually make that right on the corner if I was being very specific. I could go into edit mode and select that vertex. See, I could go to mesh and snap the cursor to what's selected. And then if I change this here, go back to edit mode, and my origin is right in the center. Change this to follow the 3D cursor. So wherever the 3D cursor goes, that's where my origin point is going to be. Now I need to put that back on now. Snap that to what's selected, and the origin point goes with it. Now if I rotate, if I go back to my front view and rotate, it's going to rotate on that pivot point. That is the new pivot point. I can also just put it out here. In fact, I could put it right in the center. If I go to object and snap, I want the cursor to go to the center. It goes right to the center. And then if I moved this up, my cube up, the origin and the cursor stay in the center. And now if I rotate, it's rotating from that origin point. It doesn't even have to be on the cube. So it's going around. Like if we were to make a clock, for example, if I were to scale this down on the x-axis, just to make it skinnier, and then if I rotate it, let's see, if I duplicated this and then rotated, so Shift D to duplicate and then R to rotate, I could rotate and place that in all the different tick marks of a clock. In fact, I can make that, if I come out to the settings, I can see exactly how far it's rotating. If I Shift D to duplicate and R to rotate, and then if I hold down Control, it jumps in increments of 5 degrees, and I could go to 30 degrees there. I could Shift D to duplicate it again, and R to rotate, hold down Control and go 60 degrees. Then I could grab all 3 of these, Shift D to duplicate, R to rotate, hold down Control, and just place them all the way around, make the tick marks for a clock or a gear or whatever I want to make. So that's showing the origin point and the pivot points.